alive.
With our community and viewing our community focus.
And just look at the beauty. It's just amazing.
Can you see out our window?
It's amazing out there.
The sun is shining even though it's very cold, and we are so glad that you've joined us today for this Tuesday live webinar.
The focus of today is community, and we've invited other people into the community. Hopefully there'll be more coming in, but we're focusing on not just what a community is, but how it attaches to our Zoe life, our rhythms, our values. They all work together. So that's where we're going to be pointing our attention today.
So this is module 4 of our Relaunch Your Life 2020 Duzie course. And this is Tuesday. That happens every Tuesday 3 times. This is our second time to do Tuesday. So welcome for those.
This is our fourth.
Today.
Oh, today. Oh, I was going to say.
Second time today with our community focus.
Hi, Becky. How are you doing?
So, thank you, Becky. So Becky Fairhead from Scotland has joined us. Welcome, welcome. Kathy Weller, thank you for joining us from Oz. She's already into Wednesday, so thank you for joining us so early.
She's
in the
always
morning.
ahead of us.
Yeah, go Kathy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Question for you, Becky. Is Daniel there too, or is it just you? I'd love to know who all is in the room. Who am I speaking to? Whose stories am I talking about?
Yeah, this morning we had a great webinar, very interactive. We absolutely loved it, and we're looking forward to our time here with you. And then afterwards, we had the opportunity to Skype in with Katie. She is our 5-time webinar visitor so far. Even though we had 4 weeks and 4 times so far, she came twice on the first time. Yeah. Go girl.
So if any of you out there would like to have a personal coaching time with one of us or both of us, just let us know and we can schedule it up. Our schedule's a little more freer than it was. Last week was a little bit crazy.
Yeah, but so Kathy, we're working on a time for you and us to get together. And I know, Becky, we're dreaming of it. Illy, thank you. You're joining us from the Netherlands, I'm assuming, near Zwolle area. Thank you so much for joining our course and first time with us on Tuesday. And then Mina, you're back again. Thank you again for joining us back on Tuesday from Germany. Love that you've joined us once again. We're so excited that you guys
Mina,
are
you are Swedish or Finnish? I'm trying to remember. I know you're living in Germany. I'd love to know what your nationality is too, because I was trying to think of it the other day, and I know it's up there in cold land someplace, but love to know exactly where it is you're coming in from.
And I just thought I'd type in there so I can be inclusive as well. And we're coming from
Finnish.
Mina. Yeah, thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. We're not sure if there's a few more people coming in the chat now or if they're going to jump in on our later one. For this particular day, we've not been able to see who is in for what time. So thank you so much for signing in so we know who we're talking to and we can make it specific to you.
So as I said earlier, today we're really going to focus in on community. I would love to have your questions looking at community and how it connects to, if you're not there yet, we're going to be looking at the nest. We're going to be looking at the eagles in our life and the trees. And in the first Tuesday this morning, a lot of people had not even reached this module yet, and that's okay. We're sort of going to get ahead of you, but then see how it connects to where you are right now in the course.
So we would love for you to just fill out this poll. And this is a poll just for us to have a clue where you are in the Relaunch Your Life course. Have you completed all 4 modules? Have you completed modules 1 and 2, just getting started? Or there might be some of you who haven't even joined the course yet. Do you notice how there's a yet there?
We're still at the point that we had people, I think we had 2 new signups for the course
this
yesterday.
Morning. And this morning as well. Yeah.
So I know we closed the course, but we didn't close the course
Officially.
Because we didn't know how to close the course. And there's people saying, please don't. I need to join in. Last night we had somebody here and she's like, I can't take it for another several months. It was like, it's all right. It will be available.
We'll make a space for you. So far, 100% of you who are in the chat have said you've completed all 4 modules. Bravo.
Amazing.
You've never had 100% on this question before. So I don't know.
Someone else vote on another one.
Yeah, please, if you haven't voted yet, please vote honestly. But it's good to know that helps us know what to cover in this particular Q's Day because we want to address it. In the last one, like we said, we had people who weren't in the course yet. I think 2 people were not quite in the course yet. So we went into a bit more detail, catching them up, and a couple people had just gotten started. So we're talking to the experts.
The experts
in relaunch.
We'll ask you advice on this as we go
experts
through.
in Zoe life, I do believe.
That's very true. Now, remember, as we go through, any questions you have.
Good,
please,
we've got one just getting started. Thank you for that vote.
As we go through, please type any of your thoughts in the chat. But if there's a question you really want us to be able to see and get right to, then make sure you press the button and the red light will come on. That will help us to see. We want to address that. We like to try to get to everything. Afterwards, we go through and we look and we find, oh, we missed that. And so we did say to the last group, and we'll say it to you, if you've written something and we don't get to it, just write it again.
Just write it again and say, hey, what about this? Another part about the chat that we're realizing from the user end, and thank you, you have told us this, is that we ask a question sometimes and there's a bit of a delay between you catching it and then you typing it and then it getting back to us. So at any time, if you have a thought about something we said even 5 minutes ago or earlier, please write it in the chat. We can jump back to anything that we've already covered. It's never too late. Some of you take a little bit longer to process and then the ideas come later. So we'll take your ideas, your questions, your comments, your emotional outbursts.
And donations.
And at any time. So just write it in and we'll present a few things while you have time to put the chat in. And then we'll come back and revisit as much as we can because we want to hear from you.
So I'm going to close the poll now. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to look at that.
So the poll, 60% have completed 4 modules now that everybody's in. 20% have completed modules 1 and 2, and 20% are just getting started.
Okay.
So we've got the whole gamut of
in.
experts to newbie, and you're like, what are you even talking about? So no problem. Please feel free to ask any question, make any comment, because in the last few Q's days, we've had people who are taking the course chime in and bring a lot of value to the subjects that we're talking about. We're expecting that again today.
So now comes the official beginning.
Dun,
so
dun, dun.
Everything up to this point has been play. So we're going to do the official beginning, and then we're going to play some more. So here we go.
So, welcome to Tuesday with Duzie.
I'm Dan.
I'm Suzie, and together
we're Duzie. And I'm still Dan. Do you ever go through and watch any of the videos? I do this sometimes on our YouTube channel, and it's like, hi, I'm Dan, I'm Suzie. Hi, I'm Dan, I'm Suzie. Hi, I'm Dan, I'm Suzie.
It all starts
like,
there.
Oh, my. So we're trying to push it back a little
Saskia, our daughter-in-law, says, hey, why don't you do a few things and then say Dan and Suzie? It's so hard for us because it's almost our automatic Dan, Suzie, Duzie. Okay, here we go.
And you may be wondering why we're doing that. And it's because we're going to be getting old and senile, and we're going to be watching these someday and go, who is that? And then when we hear that, we're, that's me.
Who
that's
I am.
me.
No, maybe we won't have to go senile. We're trying to have a healthy rhythm and keep our brain healthy. So this is.
I'm already forgetting a lot of things. So
I'm healthy.
She is healthy.
I just want to say.
She tells me all the time the things I'm forgetting. So I don't need to say this anymore because she'll just remind me who I am.
All right, I will.
It's perfect.
I will. So our theme today is View Your Community. And for those of you who are caught up in Module 4, you know what we're talking about. If you're not there yet, don't worry. We're going to have a bit of a review. And then we want to talk together about the different segments of the NET. And after we give a brief overview, we want you to write in the chat and tell us which one you would like to hear more about, because we could do all of them, or we could focus on one or another.
We want to hit specifically the things that you're interested in. So I made a little video. This video is basically a mid-course review. This is where we've gone. This is how things connect up a little bit. And then during it, if you're like, I really want to talk more about one of the courses before, or I want to talk about
one of the
net,
The courses, you mean?
Even
the
one of the modules before, anything, type it in there. So when the video is done, we'll look and see that's where we're going to go.
So this is your cue. Please type in, watch, see what you can multitask here. And we'll see you on the other side in the chat space.
Today I saw a person online asking about their life and if their life really mattered.
The whole reason we created Relaunch Your Life 2020 was to motivate and equip the next gen to live fully alive.
Because your life does matter. Every life matters.
Here is one of Dan's paintings called Life in Chaos. The chaos of a life lived without understanding. People get stuck. God created us with the purpose that we would live, and our fully alive life would bring Him glory.
Jesus said in John 10:10 that there are people and religious beliefs and controlling cultures that exist to steal away, to kill, and destroy your God-given right to live fully alive.
But Jesus goes on to celebrate life by saying He came that you would have a quality life, full of vitality, blessed by God from this day forward.
Wow. With that, we welcome you to this short mid-course review.
Specifically looking at community. But first, let's dig down to the foundation, which is life.
We begin Relaunch Your Life with Aim Your Zoe.
To live fully alive, we must focus on relentlessly pursuing who God created us to be.
Jesus is not talking about a life somewhere else in another time and space, but here and now. He wants you to be living fully alive.
The second week, we built on the Zoe foundation with Land Your Rhythms.
That means you get to intentionally choose the daily, weekly, or whateverly patterns for your own life.
Your rhythms will enable you to live the Zoe life, or they will hinder you from a vibrant life.
That takes us to the next area, values.
Like a new house that needs to be inhabited, you must inhabit your values.
Values are the beliefs that support your Zoe life through your intentional rhythms.
But houses were designed to be near other houses in something we call community.
It's like a tree with many branches, and the branches produce fruit that bless the community.
The branches also hold nests, the places from which your life grows. Everyone who is fully alive has a nest or several nests.
Because you need people, close friends, who will move through life with you.
But life in the nest also needs eagles. Eagles are people in your life who have spent more time living on this planet with a big perspective of what's going on. Those who can show you how to feed, focus, and fly.
You must have your eagles if you are to relaunch your life and fly. All right.
Welcome back.
That's such a great review. Last night when I was just sitting there, very different for me to do one like that with us talking. It took a lot longer, but it was a very good thing for me to review. Hopefully it was good for you. Any of these videos that we show on the Tuesday, they're always going to be found in the our YouTube channel, Duzie Space Potter. So if you want to go there and see any of them or share them with other people, you're more than welcome to do that.
And Dan he does such a great job, and he's so creative. But I gave him a bit of a challenge because he always does these whiteboards with capital letters. And I said,
Well, I didn't know there was any other letters.
could you try one that has capital letters and lowercase, uppercase? And
did you know there were 3 different fonts in there?
it's not like him.
From a graphic designer point of view, I would never do such a thing, but it made her so happy. Hopefully you were happy with it as well.
What did you think about the whiteboard? What do you like those whiteboards? Do you want something different? You like any particular part of it? We're hearing from you, and you're helping us create forward.
So we took some time there and we looked back at Zoe, at our rhythms, at our values, moving up into the community, looking specifically at the net. Now, we have talked about the net.
Okay, hang on one second.
Years.
Do any of you have any questions about any of those modules so far? Some of you are still in a different module. If you have any questions or comments, something you've learned, something that you've grasped, we'd love to hear from you. And any question that you have helps others who are in the midst of it, or also to review those. So we'd love to hear from you about that.
Becky and Kathy, thank you for being loyal fans there. I like making them because I'm a visual person, and for me to be able to just spend working on them, it just goes deeper. And I know we all have weeks of chaos, and to come here and be able to first of all just look back and see what did we just learn, and then move forward is helpful. So thank you for that.
Also, we'd love to hear your feedback if you noticed at all. In the past, they've only been the whiteboards with just the words and some backing music. And we've tried something with our voices speaking over it. What are your thoughts on that? Do you prefer just the sound and to read, or did you enjoy our backing vocals, shall we say?
Or would you like just the vocals and I don't have to spend the 3 hours making the video? Just let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to hear if you have an opinion about that. We'd love to hear that.
Let me give you a little history on the net. Years ago, at Teen Street, we were trying to decide what's going to make it effective, what's going to make it different, what is really going to make the truth go deep. And we believe in small groups, but we saw that it's not just a small group, it's a net of peers and friends and a mentor or a coach that come together that support us. And so we teach that all over the place. But this time when we were writing the course, I don't know, it was just God took us into a different zone, and I started going, okay, what is N? And I thought, well, it's like a nest. And what is E? Well, if it's a nest, it's got to be an eagle. These things came easy. And then there was this T, and it was like T. We've only just ever done this. What's the T? And then it was like tree. It's a tree. It's a community. And so for us, the light came on. Matter of fact, 2 days ago, I took a walk because I'm just trying to live. God, where are you taking us? Because this is a whole new territory for us.
And it's so important for us as a couple and in ministry as well. Dan has those gifts of going out ahead. And we've been going very much together. And I just have been praying. And I said, you need to hear from God. Where are we going? Where is he taking us? So he really went deep into it. You ask Dan to do anything. He loves tasks. And he was off like, okay, time to hear from God.
So I came back with this whole idea that what are we doing? We are planting hundreds of trees that will hold thousands of nests with an untold number of eagles. And it was like, oh, yeah, let me at it. Because I think it's not just about us. It's not just building this platform. It's not just doing courses and doing webinars. It's so much bigger. It's bigger than we can see. But we're in the process of planting hundreds of communities that will grow and be able to hold up thousands of nests, thousands of these places where people can belong. And then I have no idea what God's going to allow us to do as far as raising up eagles. But probably more than anything, eagles are missing in this generation. And we want to be a part of raising them up to help move the next generation forward.
We honestly want to be an eagle in your life. Hopefully we are just a little bit ahead of you. We're also journeying side by side with so many of you. And we want to help eagle you as you are in positions where God's going to use you as well. I'm going to jump back to the chat. Just a little bit of feedback here. Becky likes the summaries of the sessions. Kathy likes the whiteboards and Dan's creativity. She's a visual learner.
Thank you. That's the way God created me.
Becky's smiling. Illy, thank you. It was good and creative. Becky says, I love to hear the voices. And Daniel's with us. Daniel Fairhead, thank you for joining us, Daniel. Kathy's talking about the net. The net actually was very much of a challenge for her. She had to stop and truly pray through and work through how to have a net, as she realized she hasn't really got that. So it's exciting, and she's going to be more intentional in that. Thank you, Kathy. We're going to talk more about that today. Tammy likes the whiteboards, no matter the font. She likes the vocals. Thousands of trees. Thank you I was trying to think, Tammy, and talk at the same time. Thanks for correcting me. Kathy also says the eagle was a big challenge for me, starting to talk with you, Suzie. Yeah, we're finding a time very soon. Oh, Matt is back with us. Matt was at an earlier web and Q's day, and then he had to, I think, go to a meeting. Go to a training, and you're back again. Wow. So welcome, and thank you for your responses. As we said, while you're thinking about that, or if you've got some comments, please continue to just type those in the chat, and we'll grab those in moments when we can get there.
So one of the things that is different for us in this course that we've been looking at is, as you notice, we start off with what's the mission statement. And the mission statement is really, why are we learning this? I mean, there are times that I go to meetings, I sit through different events, and it's almost like, why are we here? And so that's what we've tried to have that mission statement. But even on top of that is, but where will this take us in the future? And I love that a part of what we're doing is I have to think, not what are we preparing right now, but where will this take me in 3 months or 6 months or 2 years? And that's what the future self is about. So maybe we can go through and look at that.
So we have a few slides to remind us, taking us back to the ALIV so far. And the foundation of everything is Zoe life, living fully alive, being a person that lives in that fully alive Zoe life that Jesus said he came to give us life and to the full in John 10:10. And so that is the foundation of every one of these future self statements.
And I just want to make a quick comment there. That Zoe life is life in the incredibly great moments, but also in the really difficult moments, the moments where, your child is sick, or you're not feeling
awesome.
Someone I know, I just found out that they died last week, and it was just, there are those moments in life, but that doesn't steal away the Zoe, because that Zoe is still being fully alive, even in the pain. And so we have to be careful to think, okay, today I'm in Zoe, tomorrow I'm not in Zoe. It is a constant, but it is like a roller coaster at times. It's up and down, but you're still, don't fall out of the roller coaster. Okay? That's death.
Put your strap in, your seatbelt in, because the ride is happening. On our first week, we talked about showing up alive. Remember, we talked about the I am not, like, I am enough, I have enough, so I'll show up. Ta-da! This is who God made me to be, and I don't need to be like somebody else. I'm showing up alive, and Jesus said, I've come that you may have life, and Jesus is in us, and so when we show up and we say, ta-da, it is showing up with the Jesus light inside us shining out. And so we can show up in our future self. These are the little steps that we're taking towards where we're trying to go, fully alive Zoe life, even though we might not exactly be all the way there now, but we show up alive in whatever capacity we can be in.
And then we went to the next week on rhythms, and I love, we had a few different symbols for a heart. We had this nice little beautiful heart and all this stuff. And our son Joshua, he said, this is the heart you want.
I love it.
Oh yeah, because again, sometimes it's very raw. It's not Valentine's Day every day, and I think it's those rhythms that they're not easy. Sometimes it's like, I don't want to eat my vegetables.
And the dark and light contrast in the sketch and also in our rhythms is a reality of our Zoe life as well.
But if I intentionally set those rhythms, where will I be in 6 months? I will be intentionally growing my Zoe life through my rhythms. I will be there. And I think too often we live our life, well, someday, we never arrive. I believe some of these principles, when we grab a hold of them, we will be, and yet we will still be coming. Both will be happening. It won't be always longing for something we don't have, but it will be, I am living Zoe, but like the U2 song, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. It's going to continue on.
Process, that's right. And then last week, we were talking about inhabiting our values, and the house was our picture. And that house is the place where we live and we begin to inhabit. So we talked also about our rhythms and our values coming together and supporting one another. So we thought, should we have done values first? Should we have done rhythms first? And we got feedback from all of you in our chat on Tuesday and also from messages that you've sent. Thank you very much. That when we got to the values part, it actually gave a lot more life to the rhythms, and the rhythms, the values. So the combination of the two of them is what we talked about in our last Tuesday. If you didn't get a chance to be present or to see the replay, that's inside the course at the end of the module about values. But the future self is I am strengthening my Zoe life by inhabiting my values. We're living in our home again. We weren't living here. We're still continuing to unpack. And last night we had some very close friends over for dinner, and they said, we love coming to your house. It's getting better and better. And I think that's the picture of inhabiting the space where God has given us. And when we think about our Zoe life as well, it's inhabiting the space in the way God uniquely and creatively made us.
So it's like the values it's the exercise program of Zoe that we strengthen. We live those things out, and we can stand in those things.
Yeah, and the one for this week, our future self, I am supported by my fully alive community. And that picture you see right there with the tree and the eagle and the nest is all inside of module 4. And this is all about the community. And this is what we really want to focus on for most of this Tuesday.
Yeah, and I think if you're like me, you've had times in your life, and maybe you're there right now, where you feel like you're the egg and you're not in a nest. You're sitting out in a field. It's a dangerous place. Where's my nest? Where's my eagle? I don't see a tree in sight. That's normal. That's part of life. But yeah, one of the concepts we wanted us to focus on is, so how do we find it? If we're the egg in the middle of the field, how do we sort of scoot a little closer to a potential nest? How do we sort of move a little bit so an eagle can come and hover? Or how do we stay there long enough that a tree will grow? I have no idea, but it's something that in my life, especially moving back from the ship here, immediately I knew I had about 2 weeks to find a community.
That's right.
And I was starving for it. Mm-hmm. And it's still very intentional. Every Sunday going to church, very intentional. With the neighbors, very intentional. But I see now I'm in that nest. There are some other eggs there, and I'm in the process of finding those eagles and come help. So the key word is definitely intentional. Yeah.
So jumping to your chat again, just responding a little bit. Matt Taylor cannot get enough. He's got a hero status 2 Tuesdays today. Whoop, whoop. All right. And then Mina says, I'm also missing my eagles. Thank you for being one. It's our honor. And as we start this new online platform for us, in addition to the going and traveling and being in different places, this is one of our goals as well. There's so many people potentially like you, Mina, who are out there without a community, without a net, without those people to support them. And virtually we can do almost everything else. So we were like, how can we go in this space and provide this community, this net for people and be eagles? And we feel like we've identified ourselves as is it a Sherpa? No.
I think it's a Sherpa. It's the one that goes up the mountain and then you realize how you've been there, and you come back to help
Come
other
back
people
and we're
get up the
like,
mountain.
let's go together up the mountain, because we've been there and we're there again, and we want to take people with us. And where do we want to take them? To live fully alive. We want you to be fully alive as we're learning how to be fully alive.
And in a little bit on this Tuesday, we're going to tell you what the dream is for the future.
Yeah, so
we just
stick
released
around.
it this morning to the first group. We'll release it again because we want your feedback into this is where we feel God's calling us and the direction. We'd love to hear your response to that. So that's coming up in a little bit.
Yeah, so Mina, it's our joy to be journeying with you. Kathy says, showing up has been the most beautiful quote I've taken on and do intentionally now. And I think for me as well, we are actually pouring out to you what we are currently in the midst of learning. And that's one of my things as well. And I'm getting in that place where I'm not being fully alive, or I feel repressed, or I'm not sure if I can and should do something. I just show up. This is how God made me, and God uses that. I love that. So Matt wants to know, Becky, what do you need help with? Showing up fully alive, Mina, you said, is my favorite thought. Oh, Thank you for that response
Really
as well.
good.
Kathy says, yes, Dan, that's how I've been feeling at the moment. Becky says the same.
Yeah.
Kathy says, Greg and I have intentionally found a church, and there are a lot of Teen Street people, so we're excited.
Wow.
I'm curious which church you found. That's cool. And Tammy says, I think it's also a possibility or necessary when you're in a nest to bring others into the nest who are sitting in a field. Wow, Tammy, that's very powerful. And I want you to help remind us of that when we get to the net part itself.
The nest part?
Nest, nest, the nest of the net, because that is so powerful.
One of the things that came up earlier as well was the idea that we're not just people who saying, I need a nest, I need an eagle, I need a tree. We also need to be people that are saying, I provide a nest, I am an eagle.
Yeah.
I help direct people to the tree. So it works
Two
both ways.
Yeah.
I think at first we've got to be the takers. Definitely just show up.
Have to be in that
but
space.
I think once we show up, which is just such a beautiful thing that's God, when he created us, he just wanted us to live. He just wanted us to show up, and we do. But then there comes this thing from inside of how do I help others show up?
So I just want to quickly review the community overview. And there's three parts of the net. There's the nest, eagle, and tree. So while you're watching this, or as you're thinking, or anytime, we would love for you to type into the chat, which of those three would you like to hear more about, or would you like to have a greater emphasis?
We could maybe hit them all, but I want to be able to focus on the ones that you want us to really talk about.
So Zoe Life, of course, is the foundation. And then this week is all about community. And we just want to reiterate that community is common unity. All the people coming together in the net are in common unity. And what is that common unity? For us, and for our emphasis in this whole Relaunch Your Life 2020 course, is living fully alive. The fully alive revolution, Zoe Life, people living how God has uniquely wired us to live. And that's the unity that we have. So diverse, and yet we're all in common, that we're giving space to each and every one around us to live the fully alive Zoe life that God created for them.
Have you ever heard the verse in the Bible where it talks about where two or three are gathered in my name, I am in the midst? The concept actually there is where two or three are in common unity together, I'm in the midst. So what God is saying is that, okay, 1, 2, 3, I'm there. It's not that. It's where you guys are in unity. And it doesn't mean we don't hold on to diversity, but when we come together in unity, he is in that.
And it's definitely the support time of a community. Hey, shall we take a selfie quick while we're here? Everybody out there, even though we can't see your faces, let's have a little moment.
Do you want them to smile?
Yes, yeah, smile, please.
That was random. That's the support side of community.
All right. And the picture.
The picture here is for me just so clear, and I've already talked about it. But you see that tree, you see those branches. In our life, we can be on several different branches. We can be in several different communities, but then there's that nest that we belong to. And most of the time someone else built that nest for us. But we need to be building it for others. And then there's that eagle that's so protective, so watching over us. So we look at net being the nest, the eagle, and the tree. All are vital.
Yep. And all of those people are vitally important to support us. So if you don't mind, in the chat anytime from here on out, or maybe you've already done that, tell us which of these three parts you would like us to have a higher emphasis or focus on, or
Today.
make sure we don't miss the nest, the eagle, or the tree.
And I just want you to know that today, as we were teaching this in the first session, it really hit us that this is one of the core teachings of Fully Alive Revolution.
That's right.
That as people come along and say, I can't, or I'm not able to live Zoe, I'm not able to reach this, one of the first things we're going to do is go back to, are you in a nest? Do you have eagles? What's your tree?
Yeah.
Because I believe it. I mean, it just came out of nowhere, but I think it's what God really brought.
For sure.
That if you want a key to successfully live Zoe, this is part of it. And there's probably more core values coming, but this is definitely one of the keys.
So Dan and I we sat together after the first Q's Day today, and we're like, what are some of those basic or core beliefs that have to do with a fully alive revolution? And this nest eagle tree is one of them. Zoe living fully alive and helping people do that is one of them. We also believe that this entire course is foundational, including the rhythms, value, community, and next week is all about passion and how we put those together. Also, the purpose statement. What is our purpose statement?
Our purpose statement is to motivate and equip the next generation to live fully alive so that they will love their life, their world, and their God.
And those are very key and foundational aspects of the fully alive revolution.
Hopefully you've had a chance to say which area you'd like to look at most and talk about. Matt, I see you saying tree there. Very interesting. Interesting. I just took a walk with your brother David in the woods, and we spent almost the entire time talking about the tree. So hopefully you can still hear us.
I think I plugged us back in
but
again.
The tree is very, very important. What else would you like to talk about? Let's hear from some other ones.
Yeah, Mina's going to leave. Mina, so goodbye and hello. If you're watching it on the replay, thank you so much for coming. Yes, and if any of you need to leave at any time, because we know that that's a reality, please just type in, I'm leaving, so we're not talking to you and you're gone.
And everything is going to be available on the replay. So
yep, with the same link that you have to get in here. Let's see, Kathy has to go. Okay, she's gone too. That's fine. Okay, so tree, and Matt will ask about it. Great. So do you want to just take this moment to tell where we're going? We're sort of talking about the fully alive revolution anyways.
We'll talk about that, and then we'll come back to tree, because we just recently were given we were borrowed. Is that the name?
Borrowed.
This book, The Hidden Life of Trees, and it's fascinating. I've just been into chapter 1.
Are you going to already say?
I'm just gonna say a little bit.
So good, he has to.
This goes along with it. What I'm going to talk about somehow. I'll figure it out. Chapter 1 is the forest as community. And you can see these
in the book.
You can see these bumps in here. They discovered they're not rocks. They're not rocks. They're old stumps. And they're there helping to feed the younger trees. I thought, wow. And when they researched these, they found out they weren't dead. They were still living, even though they're just covered with moss. They're living basically to feed the others. So anyway, I thought that was just
it's fascinating.
Incredible.
And it goes very much with our net concept as well.
So we'll get to the trees in a moment. But let's look a little bit about where we're going in the future. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear about this. But people keep saying, so what is this going to be? What is the fully alive revolution going to morph into?
That's what FAR is, fully alive revolution.
And what is the community in the future?
Can I just say quickly, the fully alive revolution idea concept as we have it right now moving forward is that fully alive people are coming into community together, and fully alive people are going out into all places in the world, wherever God has given you the the sphere of influence that God has given you, whether you're a missionary or you're a worker, if you're in a family, you have your sphere of influence. And within that sphere of influence, to be a fully alive person. And what we really want to see with the fully alive revolution that God is really just burning in our hearts is that fully alive people will be fully alive and will spark each other to do that. Will kind of be a tree of community for one another, even though we might have our own nests and eagles.
It's more of a forest.
So it's a big forest, and we can spur one another on towards an upward, shifting the drift from going away from church, going away from Jesus, going away from being the people God made us to be. And we take that up by intentionally living all these principles we're talking about.
So we don't know yet if it's going to be a business, if it's going to be a nonprofit. We don't know. We have a consultant we're talking to next week. It is a movement, and I believe it's going to grow. The two models we've really looked at as far as an online community would be a subscription base, which is a membership base where someone would pay, a certain amount each month and just get all the benefits. The other one is you provide things and people are then allowed to, I'll take this course and it'll cost this much. I'll take this course. And I think we're going to do a combination of both. But what we're looking at really is providing resources all the time. In the next 2 months, there's at least 3 courses coming out. We're not expecting everyone to take all of them, but we want to provide resources that you can come back and go, I'm really, I can't find a tree. And you'll go in, you'll see the resource. Here's a tree resource. We want to continue doing the webinars.
Every Tuesday is the plan.
And there may be other ones coming as well, but the different levels we're looking at, we're not sure about the cost of them, but there even may be a level under the lifeguard, which is basically a lifeline. You want to be a member, maybe it's $1 a month or something, but it's just, I want to be there, but I can't afford very much. And then you come into maybe a place of getting a scholarship to take one of the different levels. But we're really looking at the main level being the lifeguard level, which is $10 a month.
We help you guard your Zoe life.
And what that means is you're in a community. We're looking right now for a really good online community space, not Facebook, but something that's really just us, with even other rooms that you can really talk deep with people, be part of a community. But then there's also the $20 a month, which would be
or whatever. This is what we're thinking right now.
Life support, which means I want to pay for me to be a lifeguard, but I also want to give enough for one other person, because we know there are a lot of people in the world that want to take this, but they're not going to be able to financially do that. So that's going to be I want to take it and I want to give
by finances.
Right, I want to give it. But then there comes the life leader level, and I'm really excited because it's $1 a day, and we're more and more aware that there are pastors and youth workers and parents and teachers and a lot of people at that level, and they want to know how to lead Zoe. So that's going to have some very special workshops that are not available to the life support or lifeguard. A lot of interviews. We're going to be interviewing some really great leaders and in asking them, how do we live life as a leader?
And also to go along with that, why we have put that level in there, we have requests from pastors and youth workers and small group leaders that are having to come up with content all the time or having to watch the trends and do the work. And they've asked us to help because 2 of our strengths are creating content and presenting content. And we love to do that and have over 30 years of experience full-time with OM doing that. And we love that. And so we wanted to have this life leader space where we can support people with creative ideas, maybe like a peer mentoring group. And we've had quite a few requests, especially from high-level leaders, to provide some kind of support in that space. So that's why we've included that in there. But
also among this membership, people would have we want to take 20% of all the income that comes in and every month have a life project. And so we'll find projects around the world this money can go to help them have life. And so if
the fully alive community will vote on what we choose for that.
The people that are members will vote, and the money will go totally to their We won't keep any of that back. And then also, as we do research, you can read a book that was written 5 years ago and go, oh, this must be the way it is. But within this community that we want to develop, we want to be able to say, here is a need we see right now. How do you see it in your world? And do immediate research, immediate gathering, especially as it has to do with life. So those are some of the areas. And then there's 2 more levels you see there. There's no price on them yet because we're not really sure what they are, but they're like a temporary status that you would say, like Daniel, I know that you've taken the coaching course. There's a lot of people who are interested in becoming coaches. We want to be able to say, for this amount, we will take you on for, let's say, 6 months. And we will make sure you are ready to be a coach. We'll give you coaching tools. We'll have regular connect times with you live to get you ready. Yep. And then if you are able, you would become what we're going to call like a FAR coach. And it's a fully alive revolution coach. And so as people are saying, I need a coach, we know Suzie and I, we just can't do it all ourselves. And so we will have a network of people because this doesn't belong to us. This is just something we're trying to get going. So there's that level that people could come in there. And then there's the level of life specialist. And again, that's going to be probably a 6 months or maybe a year course for just a couple people. But we're looking for people who are saying, I want to have an online presence, or I want to write a book, or I want something like that.
This is where God's taking me. Can you help me in this journey?
So it's going to be a very, very strong eagle pumping out all the knowledge we have about that area to not only help them fly, but to inform our community that they exist and listen to their podcast or whatever. So those are some of the levels we're looking at. And I guess my question is
one more thought, because this question came up this morning. So you know how we've had the Relaunch Your Life 2020 free course, and somebody asked, will there be free courses? Will there be free courses that will be involved in this community as well? And yes, our goal is that every month we will continue with a free course. So we want to get people equipped in the Fully Alive Revolution. And what's coming soon is Flow. In February, we'll begin to release each week what we call Flow. Tell us about Flow, the next February free course.
It's a very short course. It's probably just one video and maybe one worksheet per week. But like Flow would be, F would be follow the Father. And what does it mean? Probably a journey through just the Lord's Prayer and just some of the things that if you are living life, what's the flow? Looking at following the Father, looking at finding our fears or observing our fear. And then what does it mean to have courageous imagination? That's something God's birthing in us. I think it's needed as we move forward.
It's our theme for 2020, courageous imagination.
And then there are 2 larger courses coming in the next 2 months. One is our Passionality course. It's totally being reworked. It's going to be online and available. Also, how to live creatively. A lot of people talked, especially, and I think it was Module 2.
Module 2, one of our rhythms was creative rhythms, and we had a lot of requests to take that, broaden that out, and help people learn how to live creatively.
Yeah, as Suzie and I have been going through, we've got a list of over 100 courses that we've written over the last 30 years. We're going to start releasing those. But what we'll do within the community or within those who subscribe or are members is we'll say, here are the 3 we're thinking about. Vote on which one you want us to develop first. Yeah. And there'll be a direct interaction between the people in and what we are actually creating.
So we'd love to have your feedback. What are your thoughts? How does this land with you about a membership, a subscription, of course, having a free level and for every part, but also have these different levels and the different bonuses, benefits of being in the different levels. What are you thinking about this? We'd love to hear from you. Just write that down in the chat.
And as you're doing that, I just want to answer Becky's question or comment. We understand what it's like to not have an N, E, and T. And we want to really, I think it's different for each individual, but it's definitely intentional and it takes time. And I know where you guys are at right now with your kids and having just moved someplace and, all the rest of the stuff, it's not easy. And hopefully this online community will provide some of those things for some people like you that you can go on and find other people. But the words that come to my mind when we came back was intentionality. And we could do that because we don't have two little kids that we're pouring our life into, and you do. And so I think that question is brilliant. I don't think there's any answers. There's not like, well, A, B, C.
No.
I think that there's a lot of prayer. Even the morning we went to the church that we are now going to, we got to the end of our driveway and had no idea where to go to church because we wanted to have a church that we could be a community. And it was like, God, do we turn right or do we turn left? It was that intentional. And we just felt God say, turn left. And we knew, well, if we go left, that church is there. And we drove there and they embraced us. And it was almost like tears after coming from the ship. And it was a harder time. Just, a few friends here and there. It was just a blessing. So I think it's a prayer concern, but let's continue talking about that area for sure.
Yeah. So speaking about the nest, or these people who are inside of your place, the place where you look around, these are people who know you, who love you, who are intentional with you. Here's a poll. How many people are in your nest? It's not really important the quantity, but it's very important the quality. And so I just wonder about that. When I was thinking about the nest, just a quick thing, we had on Sunday morning a message on the family, and it was really easy for me to switch out community with family, because the nest, this community or a family, gives us these two things: wisdom, understanding, and discernment that helps us know how our thoughts and our actions honor God and influence people. And second, courage to be my fully alive self. And that's the idea of this nest, where you're known, you know, and you're known. And one of the important things about a community or a nest is that life does not have to be a highlight reel or the beautiful pictures that we post and put out on social media. It can be and should be the reality of your life, when your hair is doing the weird thing, and when you're not your perky, beautiful self, you're feeling kind of low that day, or you have really deep questions. It's a safe place to go. And it's also a place in the nest where our imperfections are seen and forgiven. And I'm known. It's such a safe place that I know I'm loved, I'm received, I'm valued, I'm accepted. It's the process where the becoming happens. For those of you who are on our Q's Day last week, we talked about the process of becoming. We're not there yet, but we're becoming. And it's a safe place to do it. I watched a interview yesterday by Dr. Caroline Leaf, who understands the mind and the biology that goes with it. And she said it's a place to freak out in the love zone. And I love that saying. So you can freak out and like, wow, this is awesome. And it's like a celebration. Or it can be a freak out like, whoa, this is really intense. But it is a zone where there's love and acceptance and honoring one another. And that is what the picture of the nest, that safe place with your people, look like. From your poll right there, I see that 50% of you said one other person, and 50% of you said 2 to 4 people.
So we're going to end the poll here. Thank you for that.
Thank you for voting and giving us that feedback there.
So I would love to just go back to Matt's thing about the tree.
Okay,
I want to take you
let's go to
back
the tree
to my walk with David, because David was asking, so what's the difference between a tree and a net? And as we were talking, it was just, all these thoughts came out, and I haven't fully processed all these things. So David was asking questions and things were coming out, and I was listening going, wow, I should take some notes on that. It was just one of those gold moments.
Yes.
But I think oftentimes we think, well, like for Becky's question, we don't have an N, an E, or a T. And we think, well, what came first, the N or the nest or the egg? The tree. Or the eagle. And I think we have to focus first, if we have none of those, on the tree. I think to build a nest outside of a tree can become very dangerous. And also an eagle, and it's hard to know where to find an eagle if you're not part of a tree.
So the tree represents belonging. So let's just think about that. The tree is the place where this whole concept belongs.
Right. And one of the things that David and I really looked at and it came clear was that there's a difference between friendship and friendly. Oftentimes we feel very lonely when we're in the tree because a tree, I say a church or maybe a place where you work
City.
Or a club or a group that you're a part of, they're friendly to you, but they may not be offering friendship.
That's right.
Friendship is more what happens in the nest.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it's like, well, I just want to go to the nest. I want to have a friend. But normally we find that friend in the tree. And so we have to look for, what is that church? Or maybe it's a small group. Maybe it's a family. I call my parents quite often. They're the history of my life. And I think that in the nest, we share the common story.
Yeah.
The eagle leads us to see the next story, the future, the change. But the tree helps us to realize our history. And I think we have to reattach ourselves some. The visual for me as we were filming was that whole idea of a little bird looking over the nest and going, wow, that tree is huge.
It's supporting me.
Yeah. And I think that's where we have to be on the lookout. And it doesn't have to be a Christian organization, but you want to have people in there who they have bits of truth that will take you forward, that it will be a place where you can contribute. So for us, some of the trees, some of the communities we have here is definitely OM. We're still in OM. We're part of what they're doing. We show up there. That's a community. Our church is definitely a community. We are trying to get involved in a local juggling club, which would be very different than the other two, but also very, very important for us for input and for giving into. So the three of those areas, I think,
and this is a
they
tree.
All grow from the tree.
The Fully Alive Revolution is a tree. Did you count that one already? Let's add that one in there.
Yeah.
So we got a poll right there just to get a feeler out there to how many communities do you feel you belong? And we were talking, I think Dan said, it could be culture, family, work, mission, a friend group. You might have a life group. You might have a church group. You might have a hangout group.
Yeah. I think for me, I would have to say family, church, OM right now are the three. And I want to develop
Fully Alive Revolution.
Yeah. That's
what I was trying to get you to add.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking juggling. But,
okay. So 5 then-ish. Yeah. And different ones of us have a capacity for different numbers of people around. So here, let's see, 33% of you said 4 or more, 33% said 2 or 3, and one of you said none.
Yeah.
Okay, or 33% of you said none. Thank you so much for that. Oh, we got another vote in for the 4 or more. I guess it's really completely up to you how you would categorize your trees. But it's a place of belonging where you feel like hopefully you've got the whole concept of the tree and the nest and an eagle that's in each of your communities. You have people of wisdom and understanding pouring into you, whether it's directly to you or if you're getting that a little bit indirectly, like a pastor might give to a group of people. So thank you so much for voting on that. And we'd love to hear your comments. We'll have a quick look into the space here. Matt's jumping back to the Fully Alive Revolution vision, and he says it's cool to hear about it. He likes the idea of the different levels. It allows people in different places and situations to engage in a way that works for them. I also really like the idea of the scholarship thing or supporting somebody else, because it's always been our thing that we don't go whether they have the finances or not. We really try to seek God to see where we're supposed to go and be there. And thank you for those of you who would be willing to do that
as we were looking at the Fully Alive Revolution. How do we do that and be able to keep the value of this should be available to all? And this is one of the ways we see that we can do that.
Thanks for that response there. Yeah, so any other thoughts? We talked a little bit more specifically about... We're coming
up on the 1 hour mark.
So. The nest. We talked a little bit about the tree. If you want, we're going to just hang in there. If anybody wants to hear a little bit more about the eagle and the concept of the eagle and who has an eagle and how to find an eagle. We'd love to hear from you if you want to hear about that, or if that's already something you know pretty well about.
Yeah. So as you're writing that, I just want to say something about eagles, and that in my life, I think it's now I've counted that intentionally I've had 53 eagles. I believe I am blessed with eagles.
Very blessed.
But I don't know of any eagle in my life, except probably my dad, that pursued me, which is very interesting because oftentimes we think, well, I don't have a mentor, I don't have a coach because they haven't pursued me. All of those people, except my dad, because I was his son, I pursued them. And I think we've even heard this, well, I can't ask you for coaching or something because I know you're so busy. And I think everybody's busy, but the thing I really saw this week were probably most, if not all, of my eagles were the busiest people on the planet.
That's right.
They were busy, and I jumped in the car with them. I showed up, and I want to be because I want to be a person that's changing the world. I want to be a person who's making a difference in my life, in our relationship, in our family. And so I want to find people who are doing that, not just being busy for busy's sake, but I don't want to find a person who's just sitting on the couch. And so that to me is just a bit of advice, that don't be afraid to go to a busy person and say, would you have time to eagle me? And you have to explain what that is.
Yep, that's
but at the same time, right now, I'm right now pursuing a guy who will be a spiritual director for me. And he will help me, I know, not be so busy. He'll help me more with my time. He will let me have more silence than information. And but yet that doesn't mean he's not busy, if you understand what I'm saying.
So I love of the poll of those of you who voted, 100% said I have some eagles. So I think that's more than one. And that's awesome because we need different people speaking into different sectors. If you remember from the first module or the pre-module, we had the life wheel where it asked you to have a look at your life and to evaluate like where you rate in that, so that your wheel, you can thicken out or you can pursue spaces that make you more fully alive. And I just got a spiritual director last Friday for the first time. I met with a lady who's just helping me journey, and her whole goal is to help me have intimacy with Jesus and to know myself and walking with Jesus in that space. But then we can have people that are eagles for us in skills or family or decisions or work. And so I think that's a very, very interesting concept as well that we can think about, to have multiple eagles that are specifically, because no two people are alike, and you know what's helping you to form the fully alive life that you need and what kind of support you need. Not only your nest of really close people, not only those eagles speaking in, but the tree where you belong, and you can feel free to grow in that space.
So we've done a lot of this talking here. Is there anything else that you would love us to look at, or any comments you'd like to make into this conversation?
Now, we normally try to go for about 60 minutes, so we're over our 60 minutes, and then we will stay around for as long as you want to continue to chat. So continue to put some questions, comments, what you'd like us to chat about in that space. If you need to go, we totally understand. Just sign out and let us know that you're going. And thank you so much for joining us. And again, those who have been on the webinar and you're watching the replay and you're not here with us live, thank you so much for making space to watch this as well. And if you have any questions, you can write those questions in, and they come in an email form to us, and we'll try to respond to you with that.
Yeah. So I think, we got one coming here. A bit more about the tree.
Tammy, you said yes, eagles. Does that mean you want to know more about eagles? Could you clarify that?
Or were you just going, go Eagles, go Eagles, go Eagles?
And Illy says she wants to know a bit more about the tree.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Let me just hit the idea that if you remember from the course, maybe you haven't gone through this part of the course yet, but when we were driving down the road, I think it was in North Dakota. We'd seen several eagles as we traveled around on our 100 Days to Live. I love eagles. I love to watch them. They're magnificent. But we saw this one eagle, and this eagle was sitting on a fence post. And the fence post was in a prairie. There wasn't a tree to be seen. Well, an eagle won't build a nest on the ground. And so this eagle was basically hunting for himself, and I just thought how incredibly that's us. I don't know what the word is, but it was just like a picture of us so often that, especially in this generation, it is a mere image of the way many times we're living, that we have not acknowledged the tree, the community in which we belong. In our process to move forward, we're almost cutting down the trees, the trees that have given us stability, the trees, and maybe we've cut down the tree to build our house, but there's no place there to grow. Mm-hmm. And especially as we see 70% of Christian young people leaving the church, they're abandoning the tree, and many times they're not going to another tree. They're landing on the ground where they're very, very vulnerable.
Yep.
So again, I'm not saying that we have to be exactly like the tree. Every season there are new leaves. Mm-hmm. There is a constant growing. In Washington, there's a park that is a rainforest. What kind of rainforest?
Tropical rainforest.
Not tropical. Temperate rainforest.
So they get a lot of water, and it's very mossy, and a lot of these vines that grow in specific things are growing there.
And the trees fall,
yep,
and other trees grow from that tree. And I mean, for hundreds of years, and you see the roots of a tree go around. It goes around the tree. It's called the nurse log. And eventually that log, maybe in a few hundred years, the main log disappears. And these other logs are like standing on stilts, but they wouldn't have got there if it wasn't for the tree. And I think we really have to focus again, not just what the community,
very much like that,
what the community looks like for us, but we all need community.
Yeah. Sorry, I nearly knocked your water down.
You did knock a few things down, but that was okay. The tree came first.
Whoa, the tree.
So as we go on, we'll talk more about the tree as well, because I think I'm just beginning to look at that. But I think that's why in the Old Testament, people didn't just show up and say, I'm here. They would talk about Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. They would go through these long lists of people. Why? Because they knew how important the tree was.
Yeah.
And in Genesis chapter 12, there's this whole conversation between God and Abraham about, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to bless your tree, that your tree may be a blessing to all the other trees, all the other nations. There's a lot of very strong symbolism in the Bible about the roots, from the root of Jesse. There's things there in Proverbs about the tree and planted by the river. And I think that symbolism is very, very good to think about. Our community, our need for community is like a tree. Roots are huge. Fruit comes from there. It's a place of hiding. It's a place of shade. So I'm still unpacking a lot of this. I need some more walks with people just to let this stuff come out. But the basis of it is we need communities. We rest in communities, and we build our nest in trees. And in those trees, in those high places, we're not the base, we're at the top. That's because it's vulnerable. The next generation. Yeah. It's up there. It's the closest to the sun, but it's where the eagle can easily find us to feed us, to help us to focus, and to help us fly.
Yeah. So thank you for the tree concept. Yeah. Let's keep chatting about it. If you get more pictures about the tree, we'd love for you to hear more about it. But it is a belonging place. It's a place to grow and really live fully alive. And when we're thinking about the tree as well, we want to think about the two-way concept of that as well. We want people and places to provide that security for us in being fully alive and for our nest and our eagle to happen. But what are we doing to be the foundation or the nurse log or the branches where we spread our branches wide and we offer what we have to allow people to be safe and grow their fully alive being? Maybe we offer this tree environment and we become eagles for people so that they can have a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more support, a little bit more feedback, a little bit even more permission. That's one of the roles that we find ourselves having as an eagle a lot lately, is that we're giving people permission to be who God made them to be. Many times it's clear to see, and we're calling it out in them and giving them the opportunity to respond and to live in that.
But please don't feel guilty when it comes to eagles, because I think eagles are like seasons. There is a season where you need eagles in your life, and you do not have what it takes to be an eagle for another.
That's right.
But there are other times where you're flying and you're seeing, I need to be an eagle for others, and maybe you're not as connected to the nest. When we came off the ship again, we were in no place ready to eagle anybody. We had to nest ourselves, nest with our family, nest with a few friends, really build that up again before we could fly. Mm-hmm. And we took 100 days to do that.
And we're God doing was
gracious
that. God blessed us
to build into that. So all these things that we're saying, I think there's a season for each. Yeah. There's a time for each. Yeah. But please don't feel guilty that you don't get everything or have everything.
That's right.
I don't think that's helpful because we even changed. I've been a part of several different churches. And there was a season to be there at that point, but then there was a season to move to another tree.
Yeah.
So relax, breathe.
So Becky, thank you. She said, I am the vine. You are the branches. We are the body of Christ, the tree.
That's good.
So that's a great picture, John 15. I think we talked about that inside the course, but great reminder there. And Tammy says, love that concept of giving others permission for others to live their Zoe life. And I think as we get to different ages and stages, or we have that personality that's a little bit more shepherding, pastoral, prophetic, when we see those things so clearly, and many times people themselves do not see it, it's very important for us to call that out in them. Matt left. Thank you very much, Matt, for joining us. See you later. And Illy says, thank you for your explanation about the tree. This is a new concept for us that actually has just been created as this course has been created. So we're still finding out about it, and it's actually blossoming. So the course allowed it to just be like a little sprig, a little bit maybe in the springtime with a bud or two, and now it's beginning to flow and a little bit more develop. Even thank you for the questions, because we're developing these concepts even as we're talking right now and bringing ourselves more clarity.
Yeah, Tammy, I just want to also speak about the concept of permission, giving other people permission. I think both you, Tammy, and myself, and maybe others, we sort of grew up in a church that was more about control. That if we want to get people to be full of Jesus, then we have to control them. And it was really, in some ways, Christian communism. And I think we have to, especially in the day we live where things are changing so much, give permission for people to live. And if they're in a nest and if they have eagles, I still believe the one who speaks to them the most is the Holy Spirit. We have to sometimes be a little bit quiet and let them just sit in the nest and hear what God's saying to them. But there was a quote I saw this week I'd love to share with you because it had to do with control. Voltaire, he wrote this. He said, if you want to know who controls you, look at who you are not allowed to criticize. And that was...
Maybe just show that one up there.
Let's see if I can put that there. If you want to know who controls you, look at who you are not allowed to criticize. And that really hit me that in the times in my life where I felt, I could talk about this, but I can't talk to that person about it. Somehow that person has a control. And we as eagles, we want to be the people where those people in the nest can speak honestly to us. We want them. I love it when my sons say, Dad, you need to change your thinking on it. You need to work. Wow, that's great, because I'm not controlling them and I'm learning from them. And I think the eagle benefits greatly because you learn from those people that you're eagling.
Yeah. One of you asked to hear a little bit more about eagling as well. Let's see, who is that? Tammy. Tammy wants to hear more about eagling. Okay. So I just want to share something. Last night I was watching an interview of Dr. Caroline Leaf. And then afterwards, Katie, after our Tuesday this morning, Katie and I had a chat about just helping her to find her new creative rhythms. That was an amazing time just to share life and do life. And then I was talking about this, and she threw in something from Dallas Willard, and he has a book called The Renovation of the Heart. And the concept here, especially for us as we're thinking about being eagles in people's lives, it's really important about thinking about how the thought processes come. And I'm learning this and I'm processing it, but it is so powerful to me. But we have, in each of us, we have something that comes up from inside us that we process based on what we've experienced in the past, what we're choosing right now, our point of view. So that is one of the ways when we have the opportunity. Dr. Caroline Leaf says every 10 seconds, we have the opportunity to think about what we're thinking about. And in module 2, we talked about the character tree in our thoughts, and so foundational. So we have this internal voice that comes up within us, and then we often get an external stimulus or a trigger. And these 2 points of view come up right there. And then we have in that moment the opportunity to make a choice what we're going to do with that. Now, that is the space where we should invite the Holy Spirit in there to say, yeah, this is what my past has said. This is what my internal me would normally respond like. That might be the sinful nature. That might be pains of the past or victories of the present. And here comes this new opportunity or stimulus that comes in there. We have to make that choice. And I think in those spaces, and formative of those spaces, is the eagle also coming in and speaking and agreeing with what the Holy Spirit is, calling out the fully alive person, the future self that person's trying to go for. And we have that opportunity as eagles to partner with the Holy Spirit to help people make decisions that will affect not just their head, not just their heart, but also their actions going forward and how they respond to and live life. So that's really powerful. I'm soaking in that right now, and I'm trying to understand that to a more full degree. And I don't know if that hits any of you in a way that maybe you can talk about it from your perspective as well. But we get to come into that very sacred space, that very vulnerable space, that very honest space, as we know the person that we're eagling, or that group of people that we're eagling. And we get to partner with the Holy Spirit to call out the fully alive Zoe in each and every person. And maybe sometimes not even knowing what it is, because we don't know what to call out, but journeying and processing with them to help them relentlessly pursue who God created them to be, and not compromise in any way, shape, or form to being and making the choices, the decision internally, heart-wise, mentally, and action-wise that allow their character to be strong for Jesus.
That's good, Suze. That's good.
I was preaching it there, wasn't I?
We got it all recorded here. That's really great.
Thank you, Tammy. You said you love that. I know you have a heart to invest in people and are doing that. I appreciate that too.
Well, we've come to about an hour and 20 minutes. We can go on any more if you have any questions, but we also can bring it to an end. This has been a great Tuesday.
Thank you so much for joining us.
I just want to go after this and write, because there's been some stuff that my brain
I've been
is
triggered
just
as well.
in.
You have great questions, great comments, great emotional outbursts, and we get to benefit from that.
So anything that you have thoughts about the way we're doing this, about the future, what we talked about the nest, about the eagle, about the tree, any comments you have, please type them in there or send them to us. I love it, because sometimes I'm looking at the chat and hearing what you're saying. And some of you are actually directly messaging me at the same time. So it's so cool.
So we'll have to get to all those comments.
I'm enjoying that.
Also, if you have any comments or something you're learning or something that's standing out
or
to
resources, you've just seen a video.
Yeah.
Matt, not too long ago, said, I just saw a video that goes along with that. He sent it to me. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. So also, if you have any comments or questions or responses, some of you are not fully up to module 4, continue to take it at your own pace. It's no problem. But if you've got something that's about Zoe or about your rhythms or about values or now about community or the combination of any of those or any new awareness that you have or highlights, we would love to hear from them here in the chat or message us in any way on social media, personally, email. We don't mind. People use different things and we're checking them all. So please contact us. So Tammy said, love that. Illy said, thank you for the explanation about the tree. Wonderful. Illy said, I love to hear this session and thank you so much for engaging us or eagling us.
Nice.
Oh yeah. It's a new verb now.
People oftentimes ask us, what is the key to shifting the drift? And when we talk about shifting the drift, we have 70% of the young people leaving the church. People we thought would go on to just follow God. They leave the church. And I think the key is within this. Tree, eagle, nest.
Yeah.
Because Christian parents can do an incredible job. And still, the thing we found around the world of those people who have continued, they're part of the 30% that stayed, is they had an eagle and they had a nest and they were connected to the tree.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe it is so right the time to plant hundreds of trees that will support thousands of nests with an untold number of eagles, because that's the only way I believe that this generation is going to come back. And I believe they're going to come back. I believe they're looking for something they didn't find the first time, but as they get eagled, and as they realize that we can be authentic in the nest, not just say all the right things, they'll come back. That's my prayer.
And I think one thing, I'm looking out the front window here, and we used to have more trees than we have now, but we still have a lot of trees. And the thing as I look at each of them, not any two of them are exactly the same. Every one of them are unique. Some are fat and tall and big, and they've been there a long time. And they're right next to little seedlings that are growing like not even waist high for me. And they're different types. And some of them do better in sun, some do better in shade. And I think that's a picture of our forest of multiple communities that are out there. And the other thing that I noticed about it as Dan was talking is not one of them is perfect. And what is perfect? Not one of them is going straight up. They all have different leans to them. Their branches come out at different heights, and some of them are bare branched on some sides and some are different. And I think that's such a picture of us in our trees of belonging, where the nests sit, where the eagle flies. It's not perfect, but it is there, and it's a part of the organic movement of growth.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We will end with the extra, and I didn't see any new comments coming up. So thank you so much. God bless you. Have a great week, and see you next week on Tuesday.
We'll pop on right at the end of the extra and make sure there's nothing there, but thank you so much for joining us. God bless you, those who have been live and those who have been on the replay. Thanks for being with us for View Your Community.
And this will be in the course. So you could just go back into this.
And also in the link where you registered.
And I'm going to start putting these also on YouTube. So they'll be there for hopefully ever to go back and watch.
So we're loving life.
And we're seeing good days.
Dan and Suzie together, we're Duzie. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.